Boker Tov, Chodesh Tov, everybody, right here in Rechavia and Nachlaot. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday morning at 9:30. It's actually 9:32. I'm sorry for being a couple minutes late. Just a lot to juggle. And Baruch HaShem, we're here learning together. And please open your Tanya to Perek Bet, Chapter 2. We're already on the second page of Chapter Bet, which in the regular Tanya Text is page 12. And we're up to 9 lines from the bottom at the end of the brackets. V'kacha. Chodesh Tov. Thank you, Malka Ruth, for your comment. And Bezrat Hashem, we're going to start now. The Alter Rebbe has been addressing, over the past couple of days that we've been learning, the Alter Rebbe has addressed the subject of how it's possible to understand that every single Jew has a special source, not only in godliness, but in the essence of godliness, the essence of HaShem. And that is something which is very unique, and that's something which is very special. Now the Alter Rebbe is going to start to address the subject of the relationship between the tzaddikim of each generation and regular people of each generation. So the Alter Rebbe says as follows: V'kacha mamash, and so too, literally, kivyachol, so to speak, b'shoresh kol hanefesh, ruach neshama, in the source of all souls, spirit and neshama, shel klalut Yisrael, for all of Am Yisrael, lemala, up above, b'yeridato, when he goes down, mimadrega lemadrega, from one level to another level, al yidei hishtalshul ha'olamot, abiyah, through the hishtalshalut, the development of how the worlds come down. Atzilus, the highest world. Then comes down to Bria. Then it comes down to Yetzirah. Then it comes down to Asiyah, Mechochmato Yitbarach, from Hashem's holy and blessed Chochma, wisdom. Kidechtiv, as it says in the verse, Kulam b'Chochma asita, that you've created everything through Chachma, like we learned in the first page of this chapter. Nithavu mimenu, they've been created from it. Nefesh, ruach, neshama, shel am haaretz. The soul and the spirit and the neshama, the three basic levels of the neshama of the simple people, upachute ha'erech, and those that are even on a lower level than that, people that don't seem to have a spiritual quality life. V'im kol zeh, nevertheless, odena, kshurot, umiyuchadot. All of these neshamot are still bonded and tied and united, biyichud nifla v'atzam, with a very awesome and strong, impactful union. B'mahutan v'atzmutan harishon, with their original mahut, with their original entity, the atzmutan, and their essence. What is the original essence? Shehiyam shachat chachma ilah, which is the drawing down of the chachma ilah, of the elevated chachma. Here's the punchline: Ki yanikat v'chayut nefesh ruach neshama shel am haaretz, because the nursing and drawing from the life force of the nefesh, ruach neshama, the soul and the spirit and the soul of the simple people, humi nefesh, ruach neshama, shalat tzadikim v'achachamim, that's from the neshama of the tzadikim, and the wise people, rashei b'nei Yisrael shebedoram, the heads of Am Yisrael of their generation. In other words, in each generation, we have this unique relationship between the neshamas of the tzadikim, of the true tzaddikim, and the neshamot of the regular people of the generation. The true tzaddikim, even the way they come down, their neshamas are still obviously, clearly connected on the same level as the way the neshama was above. In Chachma Ilah, the higher level of Chachma Vatzilut. But even those simple people who don't seem to have an obvious connection to Hashem's great level of Chachma, nevertheless, the Yanika, the looking for the exact correct word, and if you have a word, please write it to me in the comments. But the connection and receiving of the life force of the neshama of the simple people come from Roshei B'nei Yisrael Shebedoram. So just like of their generation, just like we explained a few days ago, that the whole idea of the Rosh B'nei Yisrael is not just a technical thing, but the Rosh, the leader, includes within himself all the neshamot of the generation. So therefore, every person is connected to the tzaddik one way or another. Therefore, the neshama of the regular people comes through the neshamot of the tzaddikim of each individual generation. So let me explain. One can ask, we have a mitzvah of prayer. We have a mitzvah of davening. We talked about it a few weeks ago when we learned about the mitzvah, the special mitzvah of tefillah. And so one can ask, well, don't I have my own direct connection, relationship with Hashem? Why do I need to go through the tzaddik? I have my own direct relationship. I daven, and I turn to Hashem whenever I need Him. So why is it that we need to come to the tzaddik of the generation? We need to come to the Rebbe, the leader of the generation. Why is that? And the answer is that it's definitely true that we have our own connection, our own personal relationship with Hashem. That does not need to be clarified. That's clear. However, in addition to that, there's a whole other subject. Let me first preface by saying that Hashem created in the world a pattern. The pattern is that we have pairs of different items. Sometimes one of the pair is more spiritual, the other one is less spiritual. But if you look at the source, you'll see that the one that seems to be less spiritual is really higher, comes from a higher source, is really more spiritual. But the way it comes down, we can't really see it, we can't really appreciate how special it is. But that doesn't take away in any way, shape, or form from the uniqueness and the holiness of that object which is not so spiritual. There are many examples, but one example I can share with you, which is quite an obvious one, is the difference between a Jew and a Torah. You look at the Torah seems to be obviously holier. It's holy, we stand up, we kiss it, we embrace it, we dance with it. But a Jew looks like the body looks like the same kind of body as the Gentile. Doesn't seem to be any difference. We don't necessarily see a holiness. Sometimes you do, but if you talk about in general, the body, you don't usually see anything extra unique. But then, when you open the Torah, you'll see how special every Jew is. So you need to open the Torah to reveal to us that really the Jew is higher even than the Torah itself, so to speak. Moreover, the Talmud says, Hani tipshai, these stupid people, that they stand up for a Torah, but they don't stand up for a Talmud Chacham, for a Torah scholar. Because they see the Torah, wow, that's really special. But the Torah scholar seems to be like a regular person. Even if they know that he's a Torah scholar. But the fact itself that he seems like a regular person, and he could be technically schmoozing with us. But that's why people are less careful in standing up and respecting a Torah scholar. The same applies to every Jew. We need to cherish every single Jew, not only for their neshama, but also for their bodies. Because the body is also holy. The body of a Jew is also super holy. So you could find this on many different levels. Another example, HaShem there are 4 substances. I'm sorry, I'm a little tired today. Substances that Hashem created in the world. There's a human being, a live object, a live animal, for example, something that grows, and an inanimate object. So what do we have? We have the what's clearly more connected to Hashem, connected more to life. Human being. Wow, you see, human being is moving around. You see that the Hashem is expressing himself on a greater level. To take the other extreme, an inanimate object, you can't really see any life. So it seems like it's nothing. Something that grows, okay. If you see it today and you come back in a month, you'll see that it grew. But you can't really see the real life. And the same is by an animal. An animal is between tzomeach, something that grows, and medaber. So a person can say, you know what? There's a much lower level of spirituality in the inanimate object. But in truth, the source of the medaber, the source of the domim, the source of the inanimate object, in a sense, is even higher than the human being. The way it came down, it came down quite low. First of all, an inanimate object has life, as the Alter Rebbe explains later on in the Tanya, and the scientists have proved it as well. But with the proof that things that are lower have a higher source, is that a person needs to eat. Domim, tzomeach, and chai. A person needs to eat chai, which is an animal. A person needs to eat tzomeach, which is things that grow, vegetables and fruit, wheat, bread that comes from that, and so on and so forth. And of course, domim. Water is an example of domim, but I'm sure there are other examples as well. So the obvious question that's asked in Chassidus is, if the medaber is higher, if the human being is higher than the lower 3, so why should he need to eat that? Why should he need to consume that in order to live? They're lower than him. He's higher than them. From here we see that the source of the seemingly lower thing is really higher than sometimes than the obvious holier object. And so on and so forth in many different scenarios. Now let's get back to the scenario, their original subject of regular people and their connection to and our connection to Hashem. We have 2 types of connection to Hashem. We have an obvious connection. We have a connection which is more technical, if you will. When you need something, you need to ask Hashem. That's the mitzvah of prayer. The biblical mitzvah, the oraita of prayer, is that whenever you need something, please, Hashem, grant me what I need. You've done a mitzvah. So, that is perfectly okay. It's great to be able to turn to Hashem in any situation. However, there's something much deeper, a much deeper relationship with Hashem, that we cannot do it on our own. We need to have the tzaddik to be able to reveal to us a much deeper connection. The tzaddik is obviously more connected more obviously connected to Hashem. And so, because he is more obviously connected, he has the power to be able to reveal by us something so deep, something so special, that we on our own may not have the power to do so. And as we're going to read later on in the chapter, that by hook or by crook, every single person is going to need the tzaddik in order to reveal his deeper connection. Even someone who doesn't know, is not aware that the tzaddik is connecting him. Or even someone that tries to go against the tzaddik. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact. The tzaddik still remains 100% in control, and the leader, he who connects us with Hashem on a very high level. Let's learn the next few lines, and then I want to talk about Moshe Rabbeinu. We're up to the final word of page 12. Ubazeh Yuvan Maimer Azal, and with this we're going to understand the statement of our sages al pasuk on the verse Uledav Kabo, and we have a mitzvah to connect to Hashem. I believe it's in Parashat Re'eh, maybe it's in Ekev. A few that we'll read that just after Tisha B'Av. Uledav Kabo, we have to connect to him, to Hashem. Shekol hadavek b'talmidei chachamim, anyone who attaches himself to Torah scholars, ma'aleh alav hakatuv, Hashem considers it ki'ilu nidbak b'shechina mamish, as if he's been connected to the Shechina literally. Ki al yidei dvika b'talmidei chachamim, because through attaching to the Talmidei Chachamim, to the Torah scholars, kshurot nefesh ruach u'neshama shel amei haaretz, the souls of the simple people are connected umiyuchadot, and are unified b'mahutan harishon, with their original mahut, their original entity, v'sharsham, and their source shebechachma ilah, which is in the higher level of chachma. Shehu yitbarach v'chachmato echad, for him Hashem, blessed be he, and his infinite wisdom are one. V'hu amad achulu, and he is the knowledge, he is the knower, and he is the information, as we learned earlier in this chapter. Chulu. And now in the square brackets, the haposhim umordim b'talmidei chachamim, and those that rebel against Talmidei Chachamim, yinikat nefesh ruach u'neshama shalahem, the receiving and the connecting and the nursing of their neshamas, b'bchinat acharayim shel nefesh ruach minishmat Talmidei Chachamim, comes from the level of acharayim, from the hind, so to speak, of the nefesh ruach, the neshama of the Talmud Chacham. So when you give a gift, there are two ways that you can give the gift. Either with a smile, here's a gift to someone who you love, someone who you admire, someone who you appreciate, or sometimes you have to give a gift to someone who you really don't want to give a gift to. It's probably not going to be with a smile. It's not going to be with your heart and soul. It's just going to be almost like tossing it. A classical example is when you have to give mishloach manot on Purim. So everybody gives to their neighbors. But as the saying goes, everyone has a neighbor. And you want to give to the neighbor, but you knock on the door really, really light. You pray to Hashem that the person doesn't open the door, and you leave it on the handle. And it's a gift, but it's not really a gift with all your heart and soul. So those that rebel against Talmidei Chachamim, when they receive their connection, their deeper connection of their neshama with Hashem through the tzaddik, it comes from the level of acharayim. It comes from, so to speak, from the, not from the nice giving from the tzaddik with a smile, but it's it's given. He has to give it, so he gives it. But at the end of the day, everybody receives their koach from the tzaddik. There's an amazing story that I heard 22 years ago at a Fabrengen, and this story is about a certain gadol in America. I don't think he's alive anymore. But there was a great chassid of our Rebbe who came to the Rebbe in Yechidot for a private audience, and he told the Rebbe that he was very unhappy that this specific Torah scholar, Torah leader, so to speak, spoke publicly against the Rebbe. And the chassid said, it bothered me very much. It bothers me very much. And so the Rebbe used an amazing limud zchut to find favor in what this Rav said. The Rebbe said that it says in the Mishnah and in Halacha, when it comes to making a leap year, to have an extra month of Adar in order that Nisan should not be in the winter but it should be in the spring, there are a few people who are not allowed to testify. And some of them, one of them is the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. Why can't the high priest testify? He's such a big tzaddik. He has the merit, the only one day a year to go into the Holy of Holies, the Kodesh HaKadashim. And so the Rebbe explained there are different explanations in the Mishnah, but one of the explanations is because if they're going to make another Adar, so Yom Kippur, for example, instead of being in September, will be in October. And then the mikvah, he has to go 5 times into the mikvah on Yom Kippur. And so the mikvah is going to be extra cold. So he might have ulterior motive. When you say testimony, when you say edut in front of the Beit Din, it has to be 100% authentic. You can't have any ulterior motives whatsoever. And so because he might have this little reason of why not to make an extra Adar, we don't let him testify in front of the Beit Din if there should be an extra month or not. So the Rebbe asked a simple question. Listen to who we're talking about. We're talking about the Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol is the holiest person in Am Yisrael, who's allowed to go in the holiest place in the world, the Holy of Holies, the Kodesh HaKadashim, on the holiest day of the year. What are we worried about? Maybe he's going to think that the water will be a few Celsius more colder than in September? Come on. Are we talking about a little kindergarten child? Big deal. You think it's really going to bother him? We're talking about a person who is on a totally higher level. So why should we be concerned? Maybe he's going to think an ulterior motive and he's not going to say the testimony the way it's supposed to be. And the answer is, the Rebbe said, that's what it means when we say that there's Hashochad Ya'aver Einei Chachamim. That bribery can blind even the eyes of the wise. Torah says, not just a regular person, but also the eyes of the wise. We are human beings. And we have needs, personal needs. And it's possible that even the Kohen Gadol should not be focused the way he is meant to be. And he would say not a 100% correct edut, testimony. And the Rebbe finished off by saying that this Gadol, that he has rich balabatim, people that support him, and they tell him that he has to speak against Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the Rebbe said, that's why he speaks against me. Because bribery blinds everyone, even the eyes of the wise. Listen to this, how the Rebbe's outlook is. That even someone who would speak outwardly against the Rebbe always would find a beautiful way to even include such a person. So for now, we're going to take a little break till tomorrow morning, and Bezrat Hashem tomorrow morning 9:30 right here we're gonna have a great class about Moshe Rabbeinu and what a tzaddik really means, and how is it that a tzaddik really connects each and every one of us. And I also want to mention that Tuesday evening at midnight, Tuesday night, because we're not allowed to have any congregating on Shavuot, a Shavuot night, the way we used to, there still will be the minyan and Aseret HaDibrot by day, but at midnight we're going to have the Tikul Nil Shavuot, the learning Chachamim Balayla at midnight, at 12 o'clock, Bezrat Hashem, from 11 to 12 in Hebrew, and another subject in English. It's going to be from 12 to 1, and that's going to be Kabbalah 101, 6 TED classes. Each one will be 10 minutes from myself and other of my colleagues over here in Rechavia. So thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you soon, Bezrat Hashem. All the best, have a great day, Chodesh Tov, and be well.